My name is Shauna, and welcome back to the Book Nook. Teen Girl Summer Book Recommendations. Obviously, I am no longer a teenager and have not been for a while, but I have been, shall we say, collecting this list of book recommendations since I myself was a teenage girl. This is a very special list to me because even now, as a 30-something wife and mom of two, I find myself rereading a lot of these same books every summer or frequently over the years. Teen Girl Summer is kind of a whole vibe, is its own whole genre almost. And it usually involves certain coming of age themes and motifs. That mini genre, if you will, within young adult kind of made me fall in love with summer itself, the possibilities of summer, and the idea of romanticizing your life. Let's go ahead and get into the list. Number one, the iconic, I think, original Teen Girl Summer book has to be That Summer by Sarah Dessen. This is Sarah Dessen's first book, and she wrote it in '96. But this is the original Teen Girl Summer book. For 15-year-old Haven, there's just too much going on. First, there's her father's wedding to Lorna Queen, the local television weather pet. Yikes. Then her sister Ashley's wedding to boring Louis Warsher, who doesn't seem to suit Ashley at all. And Haven can't ignore the fact that she's nearly 6 feet tall and still growing. Haven can barely figure out who she is anymore or where she fits in. Then Ashley's old boyfriend, Sumner Lee, shows up and sparks Haven's memories of the summer when her parents were happy, her sister was plucky and carefree, and everything was perfect, or so it seemed. So this was Sarah Dessen's debut into the world stage of teen girl literature, first of all, but also teen girl summer. A lot of her books take place explicitly during the summer and or on the beach, like if the family goes on a vacation to the beach or they happen to own a beach cottage or home or whatever. Her books tend to follow similar themes, similar sort of story structures. Not only does it have that original teen girl summer vibe, but I almost kind of wonder if she semi-invented this genre a little bit. I'm not saying there weren't books in the 80s and 90s that had that vibe, but you kind of get the sense that Sarah Dessen kind of exploded onto the scene a la Jodi Picoult in the adult women's fiction, and kind of really just not only took over, but set the standard and set the stage for teen girl literature and teen girl summer. So I can't recommend That Summer enough. It's really short, as you can see, and it's really beautiful and contains a lot of the kinds of ideas and themes that people would come to enjoy from Sarah Dessen in the future. Idealizing certain seasons of life, both in the sense of nature seasons, but also seasons of our own lives, as well as what it means to come of age, to grow and change. I think for a lot of young women, they can really see themselves and find themselves in Sarah Dessen in a really powerful way. And Sarah Dessen is who made me believe in summer, the power of summer to be magical. And this idea, and she develops this in a lot of her books, almost all of them, that you're gonna find people who are like you. You're gonna find friends. You're gonna find your rhythm in life. And as a teenage girl, that can seem almost impossible. But Sarah Dessen gives you hope that you're not the only person in the world like you, and you are going to find people who are like you that you can really love and who are really gonna appreciate you. So if you lived through the 90s or wanna pretend you're in the 90s, this book is it. And it's such an amazing beach read. It's perfect. Secondly, Just Listen by Sarah Dessen. This is one of her early thousands books. This is from 2006. I have reread this book, by the way, so many times I can't tell you. Annabelle Green is the girl who has everything, at least that's what she portrays in her modeling shoots. But Annabelle's life is far from perfect. Her friendship with Sophie ended bitterly, and her older sister's eating disorder is weighing down the entire family. Isolated and ostracized at school and at home, Annabelle retreats into silent acceptance. Then she meets Owen, intense, music-obsessed, and determined to always tell the truth. And with his guidance, Annabelle learns to just listen to herself and gains the courage to speak honestly. But will she be able to tell everyone what really happened the night she and Sophie stopped being friends? So, Just Listen is a lot to describe. It's hard to describe. There's a lot going on. The first thing is this is definitely more PG-13. Things that it's about: relationships between sisters, relationships between parents and children, the differing relationships that parents have to their kids based on their relationships with their other kids. And of course, this book has romance. This is kind of classic rom-com, teen girl lit, teen girl summer vibes. Like a lot of Sarah Dessen books, it is deep without being inaccessible or seeming like it's trying too hard. Morgan Matson is, in my opinion, the other undisputed teen girl summer vibe queen after Sarah Dessen, and not even after her like second place, but just sequentially. She is a different kind of writer, but she evokes a lot of the same ideas. Second Chance Summer, I would say, is the weakest plot writing out of these three books, but it's literally called Second Chance Summer, right? It's about summer. It's a great tour de force for teen girl summer vibes. I mean, what are you gonna do? It is still incredibly moving and often funny. One thing I love about Morgan Matson is that she is funny. It's kind of your beach read summer vibe, right? You want something that is entertaining and lighthearted. And while all of her books have a serious core, there is a lot of clearly, I think, intentional kind of a bubbliness that suffuses her books. Just a sense of you're gonna get to dive into this book as a beach read or a summer read and just relax. You just feel like you get to turn your brain off and you feel like you are watching like the best summer flick ever. It's so good. Since You've Been Gone is my favorite Morgan Matson book. I read it basically every summer. I love everything about it. I love the artwork on the front and back covers. I love the font. I love the premise. It was Sloane who yanked Emily out of her shell and made life 100% interesting. But right before what should have been the most epic summer, Sloane just disappears. All she leaves behind is a to-do list. On it, 13 Sloane-inspired tasks that Emily would normally never try. But what if they could bring her best friend back? Apple picking at night? Okay, easy enough. Dance until dawn? Sure, why not? Kiss a stranger? Emily now has this unexpected summer and the help of Frank Porter, totally unexpected, to check things off Sloane's list. Who knows what she'll find? Go skinny dipping. Wait, what? I do not condone skinny dipping. That's just part of the premise of the book. So Since You've Been Gone, in a way, is my favorite book on this list, which is really hard to pick because every single one of these books is basically perfection, but in a way, this is my favorite book on the list. And it has so many memorable characters. The plot is really fun. Again, lighthearted, but with a subtle depth to it. It's the perfect beach read. I think about the scenes in this book. Again, it reads like you're watching a great like summer flick. I think about the scenes in this book all the time. This book just warms your heart. Like you are drinking ice cold lemonade at the pool with your best friend doing nothing on a summer day. This is the perfect book. It's a perfect pick-me-up book. You can read it when it's raining outside. It will make you feel like you have summer living inside of you. I can't even describe it. It's too much. I'd have to do its own video to really get into it. So there you go. The Unexpected Everything, the third Morgan Matson book on this list. Once again, who is in charge of the cover art on the front and back? Because they are winning, to use an older millennial phrase. Andy had it all planned out. When you're a politician's daughter who's pretty much raised yourself, you learn everything can be planned or spun or both, especially your future. Important internship? Check. Amazing friends? Check. Guys? Check. As long as we're talking no more than 3 weeks. But that was before the scandal. Before having to be in the same house with her dad. Before walking an insane number of dogs. That was before Clark and those few months that might change your whole life. Because here's the thing, if everything's planned out, you can never find the unexpected, and where's the fun in that? So one really cool thing about this book, like how Sarah Dessen does, is that all of the characters in the book are kind of set to live in the same universe. She has these kind of little inside jokes that if you read all of her books, or if you've read, at least a couple of them, you will see connections among kind of characters off screen, even though the protagonists and main characters in each book are different, which is really fun. So that's one thing that this book does, is it explicitly has callbacks to Since You've Been Gone and others of Morgan Matson's books that she also wrote later. The Unexpected Everything, I mean, as you can see on the front cover of this book, it's got ice cream and she's walking dogs and it's summer. I mean, how perfect is that? It's so amazing. So if you loved Since You've Been Gone, or think you might love Since You've Been Gone, The Unexpected Everything will be right up your alley. I like to think of it as I've read Since You've Been Gone too many times recently and I need to read something else, but I want it to be basically identical. That's when I reach for The Unexpected Everything. Light and frothy, it's a cream puff, it's a frappe, it's perfection. Cynthia Voigt, wow, is a tour de force. Cynthia Voigt is an icon. Cynthia Voigt is the voice of a generation. I don't really know how else you describe Cynthia Voigt. Her books have been making an impact on me since I first read the first book of hers that I ever read in like elementary school, and it blew me away. And every book of hers that I've ever read since then has blown me away. The two that I'm recommending as summer books, A Solitary Blue and Dicey Song. In a way, these two books are two halves of a whole. One is about a young man, Jeff. That is A Solitary Blue. And one is about a young lady, Dicey. And these are two characters that meet each other during the course of both of these books. So this is the book from Jeff's perspective, and he will meet Dicey in this book. And this is the book from Dicey's perspective, and she'll meet Jeff. Now, this is not like a Twilight is from Bella's perspective, and then, what is the one that is by Edward's perspective? This is not that. These are two different stories. I think that she felt like these were two really compelling characters, Jeff and Dicey, and she loved them both, and they both have a really potent backstory and rich inner life and a strong character arc, and she wanted to express that for both of them, and so she wrote two books that overlap. So A Solitary Blue has a lot to do with Jeff's complicated relationship with his mom, which is very painful and bittersweet, as well as his dad, but that's a little bit a slightly more redemptive relationship by the end. Jeff was 7 when his mom left home for good. She left a note explaining that she had work to do in the world. Starving children and an endangered ecology had need of her, and she knew that Jeff would understand. Jeff understood from that it was very important to do things just right for the professor, his father, lest he leave too. So Jeff takes every breath and lives each moment week by week and year by year with extreme caution to keep things the way his distant, remote perfectionist father wants them. But then some years later, Jeff gets invited by his mom to visit. And this is the first time he's seeing her since he was 7, and he's really excited to meet her and wants to please her. Ultimately, his mom, whose name is Melody, betrays Jeff's love for her, and it's really hard for him. So A Solitary Blue, to me, in a way, is the emotionally deeper of these two books, but in general, they have a similar tone, and Dicey and Jeff are similar in their kind of caution about life, their nervousness about the future, their not being sure how to navigate their family relationships and each of their individual futures, as well as potentially together, because they meet and they like each other. And I will say there is something about Jeff's intense desire and need to feel like he has to earn his parents' love that will probably resonate with a lot of readers, feeling like you wish you could make your parents love you more than they do or differently than they do. So that's a really hard lesson, but it's also a really beautiful story. Dicey's Song is about that Dicey has been shepherding her younger siblings through a very difficult time. She has finally come to a place of stability with her siblings. And so what do you do when you finally have stability when your life has been dysfunctional for most of your life? She has a consistent caregiver. They're living with their grandma. Their grandma is helping to take care of Dicey and her siblings. And so how do you grow up when you're used to being this parentified figure as a preteen and teen, but then now you have some stability and you're expected to go back to kind of being a regular carefree teenager again, and you're expected to kind of grow up normally now. What does that even look like? So Dicey herself is also a deep person, a thoughtful person, a reflective person. And I think she, of all the characters I've ever read, most deeply conveys how difficult it can be to cross that divide between preteen and teen, where you're used to your life being a certain way, you feel a certain way in your mind and your body, and then you hit puberty, and it's just like everything changes. Olive's Ocean is technically a children's book, but to me, it's kind of a perfect coming-of-age story for like 12 to 15-year-old girls. Martha goes on a family summer trip to Cape Cod to visit her grandma. This year, Martha's routine at her beloved grandmother's beachside house is complicated by boys, what else, what if the world can change in a minute. And Olive's Ocean once again conveys what it's like to become an adolescent girl, which is pretty amazing that this guy wrote it. No shade on guys, that's just pretty impressive that he managed that. But it's also a great beach read because it literally takes place at Cape Cod, at the beach, at a beach cottage. I mean, the setting is perfect if you're looking for atmosphere. And Olive's Ocean, again, has to do with not only coming of age and identity and family relationships, but also the idea of mortality. This book is explicitly a lot about mortality. There's the possible death of multiple family members in Martha's life, not to mention this young girl that was her own age, and she keeps thinking about her. So I think as you become an adult, that's something that preoccupies you, is realizing that you could die. And you kind of never really thought about it that way before when you're so young and life seems to unspool in front of you with these endless possibilities. Olive's Ocean does a great job of exploring in a gentle, tasteful, age-appropriate way the idea of mortality as well as other themes of identity and coming of age and relationships. Mermaid Park by Beth Mayall. This book, not this exact copy, but I could go get the copy at my local library, was torn up. It is clear that me and every other teenage girl in a 100-mile radius loves Mermaid Park to death. The book is barely holding body and soul together. It has been read so many times and passed through so many hands. So Mermaid Park is this beautiful story about a young lady named Amy. She's an outsider in her own family, and her mom is dating this very sketchy guy, and they all go together as a family to the New Jersey shore, and Amy lays eyes on this place called Mermaid Park, where she feels she stepped into a living, breathing fantasy. Girls dressed in fabulous costumes put on underwater shows, gliding through the water as a captivated audience falls under their spell. In that moment, Amy becomes convinced that if she could be one of the mermaids, the rest of her life would be just as beautiful. But over the course of a summer full of real-life magic and ordinary miracles, she discovers that the difference between reality and fantasy is murkier than it seems. This book is about mermaids and the beach and love and life and relationships, and I cannot understand why I've never heard any actual teacher or academic or someone writing an internet article recommend this book, but it is amazing perfection. And probably any teen girl that picks it up is just going to want to reread it every summer or as often as she can get her hands on it. Lastly, The Princesses of Iowa. This is the only book on here that is not explicitly about, per se, or even set in summer, but I still read it every summer. First of all, it's literally called The Princesses of Iowa. It's a cool cover, beautiful, fancy font. And it's about a girl named Paige who has it all: looks, popularity, and an adoring boyfriend. But when a night of partying ends in an "it could have been so much worse" crash, everything changes. Now Paige's best friends treat her like an outsider, and even her once adoring boyfriend seems cold and distant. The only bright spot is her creative writing class, led by a charismatic new teacher, Mr. Tremont. But when Paige's old mistakes threaten to destroy even this, she must choose between living the privileged life of a princess or owning up to her mistakes and giving up everything she once held dear. So this is a book, again, what can I say, that has similar themes to all the previous books that have gone before. Again, it's not explicitly about or for summer, but I still think it's a great beach read, teen girl summer vibes. Identity, relationships, future, understanding yourself, all of that. It has some nuanced takes on certain things. It also has some lifestyle decisions that I don't agree with, but they are presented in such a thoughtful and relatively nuanced way that you can read it, and even if you don't agree with all the decisions made in this book, you can receive it as a reader that it could physically happen, if that makes sense. And that's the spirit in which I read this book. There's something very substantive about it, really sustaining. Thank you so much for watching. So happy teen girl summer vibes, and I hope that you enjoyed this video.